Okay, so we're back for another deep dive.
Yeah,
And as always, it is IPL season,
it is.
which means nonstop cricket. And, the IPL, it's all about those big hits, the crazy catches.
It is, yeah.
Those innings where you just can't believe what you're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Gale's 175, or even last season when Sunrisers just went absolutely nuts and put up 277 for 3.
It's box office, right? That's what people tune in for, those highlight reels, the big names going big.
Exactly, but here's the thing. When you look at who actually ends up winning the whole thing, the teams that consistently lift the trophy, it doesn't always match up with who scores the most runs.
Right. You need more than just flashy batting to go all the way.
Totally. Look at KKR last year, 2024. The whole season was full of these monster scores, and then the final rolls around. What happens? Their bowlers just shut down Sunrisers, bowled them out for a measly 113, lowest total ever in an IPL final.
Yeah, it was a statement. Showed everyone that while those big hits get the attention, a tight bowling attack can win you championships.
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. IPL bowling, specifically as we get ready for the 2025 season. And
It's going to be a big one.
it's going to be huge, right? Starts March 22nd. KKR, the defending champs, taking on RCB at Eden Gardens. Classic matchup to kick things off. 74 matches on the schedule,
Packed schedule.
13 venues, and the final. Back at Eden Gardens on May 25th.
You mentioned the venues, and that's actually something I'm really curious to see play out this season. A few teams are splitting their home games this time around, right? Delhi's playing in Visakhapatnam as well as Delhi. Punjab's between Chandigarh and Dharamsala.
Oh, and Rajasthan. They're in both Guwahati and Jaipur.
Right, exactly. For the bowlers, that's got to be a real challenge, having to adapt to completely different pitches even within their own home games.
For sure. And then on top of that, you got the playoffs.
Yeah.
Hyderabad's hosting Qualifier 1 in the Eliminator, and then Kolkata for Qualifier 2 in the final. Bowlers who can handle those different surfaces under that kind of pressure, those guys are going to be gold.
It's a whole other level of mental game, right? Thinking about those conditions weeks in advance.
It's wild when you step back and think about the whole scope of the IPL.
Yeah.
It's global now.
Yeah.
The viewership numbers are insane, like over 500 million people last season. And the money. Don't even get me started. We saw KKR valued at over $1 billion.
It's a business, no doubt. And those valuations, they're based on more than just wins. It's the brand, the global appeal.
And in that kind of environment, every part of the game matters, right? Every run, every wicket. A solid bowling attack is crucial on and off the field.
Absolutely. And, one thing that's really shaken things up in terms of how teams value bowling is the impact player role, introduced back in 2023, and it's really changed the game.
Okay, break that down for me. The impact player. How's it affected the way teams think about their bowlers?
So before you needed those classic all-rounders, guys who could contribute with both bat and ball throughout the whole match, right? The impact player rule lets teams bring in a specialist bowler mid-game if they need to shut down the scoring or defend a total.
So instead of needing one guy who's kind of good at both, you could have a pure batsman and then swap him out for a pure bowler when the situation calls for it.
Exactly. And that's made specialist bowlers so much more valuable. Some people even call it a bowler survival game now.
Interesting. So you're saying it's actually helped bowlers by giving them more defined roles and increasing the demand for their specific skills.
In a way, yes. Teams are realizing they need that extra bowling firepower to keep things under control in these high-scoring matches.
Okay, so let's take a trip down memory lane for a minute. When we think about the history of bowling in the IPL, it hasn't always been this constant fight to contain these massive totals, right?
No, definitely not. In those early years, 2008 to around 2012, pace and swing were everything. Guys like Malinga, Stain, they ruled the roost.
Oh, yeah. Malinga, with those Yorkers, he was practically untouchable in the death overs. 170 wickets, and his economy rate. Incredible.
Exactly. Pure pace was the name of the game back then. But then, as we moved into the mid-2010s, things started to shift. Spin came into its own.
You're talking about the rise of mystery spin, right? Nareen, with those deliveries that seem to come out of nowhere, and Ashwin with his variations and the way he could just outsmart batsmen.
Exactly. Those guys changed the game. Suddenly, the middle overs weren't just about surviving, they were about taking control. Nareen and Ashwin, they consistently racked up wickets, and their economy rates were phenomenal. They proved that spin could be just as deadly as pace.
I remember watching batsmen just completely bamboozled by a Nareen. It was amazing. And then, of course, we get into the 2020s, flatter pitches, bats that hit the ball further, and bowlers had to adapt again.
They had to get creative. Slower balls, knuckleballs, wide yorkers, anything to keep the batsmen guessing and try to stem the flow of runs. It became an arms race, bowlers constantly trying to stay one step ahead.
And we saw that play out in full force last season, 2024. Some crazy high-scoring matches, Sunrisers setting that record. But then you had KKR winning it all on the back of some seriously disciplined bowling.
KKR, their team economy was the best in the league. They just didn't give away easy runs. And even in a tough season for Mumbai, Bumrah still kept his economy ridiculously low. And then you have someone like Chakravarthy for KKR, consistently taking key wickets.
It's fascinating how the game keeps evolving. And that evolution was crystal clear in the auction before this season. Teams spending big money on both pace and spin.
Oh, yeah. The auction was wild. KKR going all in on Nortje to bring that raw pace to their attack. Rajasthan shelling out for Hasaranga to beef up their spin department. Those moves spoke volumes about where teams are putting their priorities.
So we've talked history, we've talked strategy, but let's get down to brass tacks. The pitch. Wouldn't you say that's the ultimate battleground for a bowler?
The pitch is everything. It dictates what kind of bowling is going to be effective. You look at a place like Chepauk in Chennai, it's always been a spinner's paradise. Turn and bounce makes life really difficult for batsmen. Then you got Eden Gardens in Kolkata, more pace and carry, a fast bowler's dream.
So a guy who relies on big turn might dominate in Chennai, but struggle in a place like Hyderabad, where the pitches tend to be flatter.
Right. Exactly. And that's why these split home venues this season are going to be so interesting. Delhi, for example, they have to prepare for those seam-friendly conditions in Visakhapatnam, but also for potentially high-scoring tracks in Delhi itself. Their bowlers need to be adaptable. Same for Punjab and Rajasthan.
And it's not just the pitch, right? Weather plays a huge role, too. The heat, the humidity, and, of course, the dew in those evening matches.
Dew is a game changer. Makes it so much harder to grip the ball, especially for spinners. And for the pacers, it can take away that swing and C movement they rely on. Remember KKR's final win last year? They managed to pull it off even with the dew factor. That says a lot about their quality and adaptability.
It's amazing how much goes into it. So we've covered a lot of ground here. The importance of bowling, the impact of the impact player, the evolution of bowling styles, the role of pitches and weather, and now the big question. Who has the best bowling attack going into IPL 2025? We've picked out 7 teams that we think are the real contenders.
Yeah, we're looking at Kolkata Knight Riders, Mumbai Indians, Sunrisers, Hyderabad, Gujarat Titans, Rajasthan Royals, Chennai Super Kings, and Delhi Capitals. These are the teams with the most exciting, potentially game-changing bowling units.
And we're basing this on all the data we have. 2024 stats, the moves they made in the auction, and of course any injury news, like the big question mark hanging over Bumrah's fitness.
Each team has its own distinct style, right? KKR, they've got that well-rounded attack, pace and spin, real balance. Mumbai, they've always been known for their pace battery, but a lot hinges on Bumrah being fit and at his best.
Sunrisers, they've gone all in on pace this year, which makes sense considering the pitches they usually play on. And then you have Gujarat, still built around the brilliance of Rashid Khan, one of the best T20 bowlers in the world.
Rajasthan's gone heavy on spin, bring in some really talented guys, and you can never count out Chennai. They always find a way to be competitive, especially at home, even with an aging bowling lineup. And then there's Delhi. They've made some really interesting signings. They could be a real force if it all clicks.
So much to look forward to. And it's not just about individual talent, is it? Captaincy plays a huge role. How they use their bowlers in different situations. The power play, the middle overs, those crucial death overs.
KKR last season, they were masters of that. Using their bowlers strategically in each phase of the game, choking teams out. Other teams will definitely be trying to copy their blueprint.
And you can't forget the coaches and mentors, the guys behind the scenes. Gambhir back at KKR, Bravo there too, Ponting at Delhi. They've all been there, done that, won IPL trophies. Their experience is invaluable.
Gambhir using Nareen in those middle overs in the final last year, textbook stuff, showed how a smart tactical move can change the whole game. And then there's the pressure, right? The mental side of things. Bowling that final over with the game on the line, that takes nerves of steel.
Totally. Guys like Bumrah, Rashid, Nareen, they've proven they can handle that pressure. But for the younger guys, coming into the IPL for the first time, that's a huge test. And then, of course, there's the ever-present threat of injuries. Lose a key bowler, and your whole plan can fall apart.
The schedule is brutal. Travel, back-to-back games takes a toll. So you need depth, you need options.
Okay, so we've talked about why bowling matters, even in this era of high scores and batting fireworks. The question is, Why does it matter now going into 2025? I mean, run rates keep going up, batsmen are hitting the ball further than ever.
It's a fair question. But if you look back at the teams that have consistently won IPL titles, they all had one thing in common: great bowling attacks. Mumbai with Malinga and Bumrah, Chennai with Ashwin and Bravo, KKR with their spin dominance. It might be a batsman's game on the surface, but at the end of the day, a team that can take wickets and control the run rate is always going to be in contention. KKR proved that last year.
So our goal today is simple. We're taking a deep dive into these 7 top bowling attacks for IPL 2025. We want to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, the X factors that can make them truly special. We're using all the data we have, plus the insights from experts, like that great quote from Harsha Bogle: bowling wins IPLs, batting wins headlines. And the big question is, as the season kicks off, who's going to stand up and deliver when the pressure is on?
It's going to be a fascinating ride, that's for sure.
All right, so we've spent a lot of time breaking down these 7 bowling attacks, each team with its own strengths, weaknesses, and potential. Let's try to wrap it all up, see what conclusions we can draw.
Why, let's synthesize it all.
So starting with KKR, their strength is definitely that all-around balance. Quality pace and spin, a formula that clearly worked for them last year. Adding Nortje gives them even more firepower, but it all comes down to his consistency and whether he can stay healthy.
Mumbai, they live and die by Bumrah. If he's fit and bowling like we know he can, their attack looks scary good. But if he's not there or not at his best, that's a huge question mark.
Sunrisers have clearly gone for a pace-heavy approach, which makes sense given their home ground, but their spin options are maybe a little less convincing compared to some other teams.
Gujarat still revolves around Rashid Khan. He's their trump card, but they do rely on him heavily. If he has an off season, that could hurt them.
Rajasthan's gone all in on spin, bringing in Hasaranga and Theekshana, 2 really exciting bowlers. But their pace attack, that's the question mark. Can they find the consistency they need?
Chennai, always the veterans, right? Experience matters, but they are an aging team. Harshit Rana is a real talent, but can they rely on him to carry the load?
And Delhi, they've got the potential to be a really dangerous attack. Stark, Natarajan, some big names there. But it's all about whether they can live up to that potential. Stay fit, perform consistently.
So much potential, but potential doesn't always translate into results.
Exactly. So, based on our analysis, taking into account balance, variety, wicket-taking ability, adaptability, we've tried to rank these attacks. Now, of course, the IPL is unpredictable. Anything can happen. But here's what we're thinking.
Right now, I think KKR has the edge. They're the most well-rounded, the most balanced. Mumbai's right up there. But again, the Bumrah factor is huge. Gujarat, with Rashid, comes in 3rd. Then it's Sunrisers, Delhi, Rajasthan, and Chennai.
It's fascinating to see the different approaches. And the one thing that's clear is that bowling is more important than ever, even in this high-scoring environment.
The impact player rule has definitely changed things. Teams are valuing specialist bowlers more and more, and we're seeing more investment in pace, especially in those death-over specialists. And then you have the rise of the mystery spinner. They're becoming a real force in T20 cricket.
And the pitch is right. They'll always play a huge role. Different venues, different conditions. Teams have to be adaptable. And then there are those individual players who can just take over a game. Bumrah, if he's healthy, Rashid, Cummins at Sunrisers, Stark back in Delhi, Harshit Rana for Chennai, Chakravarthy for KKR, Hasaranga at Rajasthan. These guys can win matches single-handedly.
Absolutely. They're the game changers.
So if we had to predict how each team's bowling is going to perform this season in terms of wickets and economy rate, what are we thinking?
KKR, they could easily pick up 95 to 100 wickets with an economy in the low 8s. That'll make them serious contenders. Mumbai, similar story if Bumrah is firing on all cylinders, 90 to 95 wickets, economy in the mid-8s. Gujarat, around 90 wickets as well, but their economy might be a bit higher. Sunrisers, probably a similar number of wickets, but their economy is a big question mark. Delhi, 85 to 95 wickets, but consistency will be key. Rajasthan, their spin attack could get them a lot of wickets, but that economy rate could hurt them. And Chennai, maybe a lower wicket count, but a decent economy. They'll need their batsmen to score big.
It feels like we're on the verge of a bowling renaissance in the IPL. Maybe we'll see run rates come down a bit, and those classic battles between bat and ball, they'll become even more important.
I think you're right. This season could be all about those pressure moments, those key overs, where a bowler can win it for his team.
All right, so to leave you with something to think about, we've talked about all these different bowling attacks, all the exciting matchups. What specific bowling matchup are you most excited to see this season? Think about the tactics, the different styles, the personalities, and ask yourself this. Could a great bowling duel be even more exciting than a big hitting fest? Because in the IPL, bowling might just be the key to winning it all.
And that's what makes this season so unpredictable and so exciting. We can't wait to see how it all unfolds.